And so after the housing crash in 2008, there was effort to reform the banking sector. There were some things that were done through the Dodd-Frank financial reform, but they never went back to just separating out those two pieces and making it boring again, the way that it was boring and stable, the way that it was. And so to me, I understand the response of crypto and looking at this and being like, this system is fucked. We need to just like do our own thing. Like this, it's corrupt. It's disgusting. I totally get that. But I think the only answer to it is to have better reforms of the existing system to make it like safe and less corrupt and not have this wild speculation that can create these bubbles that just like, you know, destroy the entire economy and people's livelihoods.
Is that feasible?
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's what they would say. They're like, look, the system is corrupt. It's if 2008 happens and we have Dodd-Frank and the system doesn't get fixed, like, what are we supposed to do? I actually get that. I don't know. I'm really of two minds of it. On the one hand, like, I deeply sympathize with the individualism of like, look, we're going to take it into our own hands, boys. Nobody's coming to save us. Like, this is all we got. There are a lot of preppers actually who bought Bitcoin and are sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars because they bought in very early. So shout out to those guys. On the other, look, at the end of the day, systems can change if enough people actually want to do something about it.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the stock market ban. I think that's actually probably step one. If we get to the point where we can just ban members of Congress from trading stocks, the institutional trust I think that we could all then have within the system, just at a baseline level, it would help a lot. It would help a lot to be able to get that. But of course, Nancy Pelosi is the speaker. She says, what was it? Wait, so we live in a free market economy. We're allowed to participate.
I
she
think
walks
we should
that
be
back.
able to participate. When she said that, like, pushed the microphone.
Yeah.
Walked up the stage.
Your
I was
Nancy
like,
Pelosi impression is pretty good.
That was wild. When she just walked off the stage, I'm like, that is wild.
I mean, she's not the only one, though. I mean, there's it's a completely bipartisan issue.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of these guys, and, you know, they'll claim, they're like, look, I don't have any inside information. I'm like, look, motherfucker, you're guilty. Like, you got to prove that you're innocent.
Honestly, I mean, listen, they do.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously,
Yeah,
these are not
obviously.
geniuses.
Yeah.
And they're all, like, beating the market and beating people who are expert at this and whatever.
George Soros and Warren Buffett are not as good as Paul Pelosi.
Oh, wow.
He's better. He's better at trading.
He's just an
You see the
amazing
Google
trader. Has
trade
nothing
just
to
the other
do
day.
with.
Right
What?
before the antitrust suit
Yes.
was filed, it sold like $3 million. And
Yeah.
once again, you're just never going to convince me that you didn't know about that.
He
Like, you're just not
knew
going
they
to.
Yeah,
knew,
but-
she
Right.
knew.
Okay,
they knew.
let's theoretically say, all right, we believe it. Like, they didn't use their inside information. It almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because ultimately, the bottom line is people fucking think that you use your information and, you know, are benefiting from it. And by
Yeah.
the way, when you look overall, like, you could look at any individual trade and be like, oh, maybe
Mm-hmm.
not, who knows? But when you look at the numbers overall and you're like, all you motherfuckers are beating the market, no
Right.
fucking
How is that possible?
way.
Unusual
And if you
whales.
look at the
Not a
actual
chance.
speculation, the actual
trades.
sales
Yes.
and trades, they fucking know.
It's
They know
outrageous.
something.
And they're not doing anything about it. Unusual Whales, shout out to him. He's really one of the guys who sparked this whole movement.
Who
he
is
published,
Unusual Whales?
He's like an anonymous Twitter account, and he's one of the first people who actually
Independent
published.
journalist type,
Yeah,
but
he
uses
published the
Twitter.
first trading. This was like 2021, maybe 2020 actually. We're some of the first people who actually picked it up originally about the congressional trading numbers, and we went through the exact Senate. And he loops it all together as an institution and the way that it was able to beat the market consistently year after year after. And this is all publicly available
There he
data.
is.
Shout out to him. He's a great dude.
Yeah, definitely give him a follow. He's really
He does really good work.
And
yeah,
it's a
you can actually
lot.
see it all right there. The full trading report on politicians in 2022. And again, totally bipartisan. We
Yeah.
got Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Patrick Fallon, Susie Lee, David Joyce, Gary Peters. All look at the blue and the red there, all within the graph. And you can even see, like, look, it's everybody, like from all across the board, people who are supposedly against the system, people who are totally within the system. And that's what makes it so disgusting. We have got to ban this. Like,
19.8%. What does
Right.
that mean?
well, she was down
Down.
2.8%. Well, and that's the other thing with Paul Pelosi. The guy's extraordinarily leveraged. Like, he's always trading options. He's not even just buying and selling individual stocks. He's making much larger bets on these things. I mean, he's got $100 million in access to shit you and I don't have. But
Boy, Debbie Wasserman Schultz at the top there.
yeah, she's got
doing
a
well.
nice little
Patrick
portfolio
Fallon,
return.
I don't even know
Look
who
at
that is.
51% on year over year in 2022,
nothing to
which
see
is
here.
crazy. I mean, if you compare that to the S&P 500, I'd actually be curious or what the 2022 S&P. Yeah, there you go. So S&P 500 is down 18%. Look at every single one of these individual members who are able to have portfolios which are beating the total market. It's just outrageous.
Pelosi's off her game, though.
Yeah,
Look at
she's
that.
actually off her game.
Yeah.
Seems like they threw just because everybody was onto their shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking threw
But
it a little
look
bit.
at the red and blue.
Exactly.
Look
It's bipartisan.
Yeah,
100%.
completely. And the top is
100%.
red.
Well, this is like a story of like hope, and it's very depressing because there was a whole grassroots movement to be like bipartisan. You know, the Republicans were pissed off about Pelosi and the Democrats were pissed off about the Republicans. So, like, everybody was like, all right, this is fucked up, right? Any thinking person who cares about the country would be like, this is fucked up. Why are we doing this? And so then, because there's this organic movement, you see actually some people in the mainstream press start to cover it. There was actually a reporter at Insider. They started digging into the details of these trades and compiling reports. That leads to that, when you're talking about Nancy Pelosi at that press conference, that leads to her actually getting asked a question about it. And wasn't it incredibly revealing, her response in that moment? That leads to a backlash. Kevin McCarthy sees an opportunity with Republicans about to take it. He starts posturing like, oh, if Republicans take the House, we're going to do the stock ban. Of course, they haven't said shit about that since then. Pelosi actually feels some pressure, like, all right, we're going to try a thing. And they sort of like poison pill that to make sure it doesn't happen too. And that's where it's a mixed bag, because you're like, all right, we got it on the menu. There was a lot of pressure. Politicians heard it. They had to do something. But then both parties, again, found ways to just completely, let the issue slide and not actually have to change anything.
That is an independent media story, though, because that's one of those where that guy published it. We started talking. This is not just us. This is a lot of people. Dave Portnoy, there's a lot of other people out there who've talked about it. A lot of independent media, people like you have also brought it up. That kind of put it in the pop culture conversation. You got TikTokers out there doing Pelosi trades. Like, they have huge accounts where Gen Z and millennials are totally bought into how corrupt the system is. That floats upward with the outrage. Insider picks it up. And President Biden actually originally had a line in his State of the Union just last year where he was going to endorse a congressional stock trading ban. The line was pulled at the very last minute.
Of all the things, you listen to their State of the Union, it's like a laundry list of checking the box on every fucking thing.
25 check boxes.
And that's the line. That's the line that gets pulled. Amazing, right?
At whose request? That's a great question. I would love for somebody in the press to dig into that.
And Biden, to his credit, when he was a senator, he actually had a personal rule for himself. He did not engage in this. He did not buy and sell stock. So he would actually have a place of moral authority to say, like, let's not do this anymore. But somebody got to him.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a real corruption story.
Dirty bitch.